Fanny Masimula is this moment, I understand, with my colleagues, our senior reporter, Moloko Moloto, who was covering that briefing. Moloko, good afternoon. I mean, we just played a bite where the National Police Commissioner, who's with you now, that's Fanny Masimula, was outlining in detail the numbers for us of what they've succeeded to do under Operation Shanela. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Braden Moyan. Indeed, the National Commissioner of the South African Police Services, Lieutenant General, not Lieutenant, General Fanny Masimula, launching this Operation Shanela that he says will have to be replicated all across the country, being led by the provincial police commissioners. It's being launched here in the province of the Northwest, not very far from Pretoria in Gauteng, and he joins me now. Tau, thank you so much for your time. This particular operation you are launching seems to be having the hallmarks of Operation Molao that we have seen being implemented in Gauteng in particular. Are you hopeful it will crack the back of crime?
We are very much hopeful, Moloto, that we are doing the right thing. We are not launching Northwest. We are just coming to work in Northwest. The national launch will be done in a week or two. But we are hopeful that with this operation, since we started on the 8th, we've already seen quite a lot of successes, and we think we'll carry on making an impact on crime and making the life of our people in South Africa much more better by continuously dealing and tackling this serious crime in our communities.
Yeah, some of the successes that you did speak about was the confiscation of illegal firearms that you say they contribute more towards the murder numbers. But somebody's going to say, how are these weapons coming into South Africa? In this area, I think sometime in April, the police arrested a 39-year-old man who, as they went to his place, they found that he was in possession of an AK-47, a firearm which your police officers and even the army in this country are not supposed to hold or to have. Where are these weapons coming from? Because surely your responsibility is to prevent crime.
Well, the influx of weapons, illegal weapons in the country will always be there. We are doing our utmost best between us and the South African National Defence Force to make sure that we are they are at the borders. But of course, criminals will always find a way to get firearms through into the country. And the majority of illegal firearms are not necessarily coming from outside the country. They come from within the country. They start first being legal firearms, and they then get either robbed or lost from the owners, and they become illegal firearms.
Including the AK-47s, General, because I remember in Northwest, when your members arrested the illegal miners there, they found 15 AK-47s.
Yes, we found those a lot of firearms. I remember the AKs at Stelfontein. AKs are not from within the country. Yes, they come in, but we would not know when they come into the country. Whether it's long ago or not, we wouldn't know. But we keep on collecting intelligence with a view to find out the arms caches, and continuously by this week, earlier this week, I think it was by Tuesday, we already recovered 80 firearms, of which it was 80 handguns and 6 rifles, which include your AK-47. Those, yes, they get smuggled in the country, and hence we are working with our counterparts in the SADC region that we need to work together with a view to deal with these illicit firearms and also exchange of or the import of illegal firearms into our country.
You have just appointed the former head of the Hawks in Gauteng, Lieutenant General Sibia, and he's going to be responsible mainly for organized crime. Let's talk then about the syndicate that is operating in Eskom, sabotaging the national grid. Are we losing that battle?
We are not losing the battle in the investigation of syndicates that are involved in crime in the Eskom. We have got quite a number of approaches. We have an approach by general detectives from the ground going up. and we have got the DPCI that is dealing with the more serious organized crime, and they are all involved, and we think we are in the right direction. We will not be defeated. We will definitely break the spine of that syndicate. We are on track. We know what is happening at least, and slowly we are getting to where we want to be.
General, you are accountable to Parliament. Yesterday, one Brigadier Yap Berger was supposed to appear alongside you before Scopa. He did not pitch up, and my understanding is that he had to brief the Scopa committee about what the former CEO of Eskom, Mr. De Ruyter, would have told him regarding this whole issues about the syndicates that are operating there. Has he briefed you? Because we know that the members of Parliament were not happy. Do you know exactly what he was going to tell them?
Look, the brigadier briefed me about information he got from Mr. De Ruyter, but he did not have the report which they were talking about, the report of Mr. Fivers. He says he doesn't have that report. Mr. De Ruyter did not give him that report, but he did get information which we have been working on it. It's information that we have been working on it, and some of this information we are still continue working on it. We can't really, of course, disclose it, but we do have information that we are working on. We know as to which direction we go in terms of the investigation.
Yeah, maybe let me conclude with you regarding the utterances by Mr. De Ruyter when he was being interviewed on eNCA to say that one politician told him that he must allow the so-called comrades to eat. With regard to that investigation, do you have one or two politicians perhaps that you are investigating there?
Look, we are investigating crime, and there are people involved in crime. Whether they are politicians or they are ordinary people, we investigate crime. So it is safe to leave it there, and our investigation will show as to who is implicated, who's involved. You will see when we charge the relevant people as to who's involved.
Yeah. How far are you with the Pala investigations?
You're referring to which investigation?
The criminal investigations regarding the whole issue that involves the president's farm.
Well, the DPCI is still busy with that investigation. They've not yet concluded it. We are still investigating.
General, if you still have time, Braden, let me maybe speak to Lieutenant General Shadrach Sibia. Sir, thank you so much for your time. What are the priorities that you really believe we cannot postpone? These are issues that need to be attended to as you will be taking office in the beginning of July.
At this point in time, my focus is more on these crimes, type of crimes that are really hurting our people. You know, we're sitting with gangsterism, we're sitting with contract killing, where we have a number of people being killed because of hitmen. We have organized crime, we have corruption, we have things like your extortions, where people just show up and they demand 30% and they stop the project. And these are the people that are hitting our country. Really.
Another thing that's hurting our economy in the country is this issue of load shedding. We know the president has deployed the army there in some of these power stations. What would be the approach from the organized unit of the police?
To start with, the National Commission of the Police have introduced the priority committee that is led by Divisional Commissioner Jacobs, and in there we have a number of multidisciplinary structures such as your state security, your crime intelligence. You've got all the relevant role players that are necessary to participate, including the DPCI and the National Prosecuting Authority. Now the approach is to have a multidisciplinary structure that is working in this, including a team that is focusing on all the syndicates that have been identified.
Yeah, thank you so much, Lieutenant General Shadrach Sibia. Maybe let me speak to Lieutenant General Moloko. Now, he is the Provincial Commissioner of the Police in the Northwest. This area, I was just telling Lieutenant General Masemola here, he knows obviously that you arrested somebody who had an AK-47. Tell us about the crime situation in this area.
Well, in this area, apart from gender-based violence-related crimes, there are also a lot of robberies. There are a lot of crimes that are related to, amongst others, murders, attempted murders, and this as a result of, the liquor outlets that are many in this area. And from time to time, we do have cash in transit heist. As you know, it's not long ago that the people got their grants. This area is also one of the areas from time to time we've got CITs. That's why you see us being visible in this place here, just to be around, to be visible, to be, kind of in the eyes and in front of the faces of the criminals to ensure that there's no crime that is being.
You mentioned a very important issue, the issue of liquor outlets. And this 39-year-old man, who was also, I'm told, was a serial rapist. He was targeting women when they returned from these liquor outlets. But people generally, especially in townships across the country, complain about the fact that these liquor outlets would be operating into the very early hours of the morning. And they accuse you as the police of not enforcing compliance in terms of the operating hours. Why are you failing to do your job in that regard? Because certainly people who stay in township complain about these people.
I can say that, from time to time there are different localities insofar as the liquor boards are concerned from one place to the other. There are instances where the licensee will be told that you are closing at, say, 12 o'clock in the evening, at night. But when you go to the municipalities, then they got a further authority to say, no, you are closing at 2 o'clock. This confusion, that is why I think when the National Commissioner was talking to you earlier on, he was talking about the revamping of the Police Act, which is now a bill which will be placed in Parliament, the next bill, where these issues will be addressed to ensure that there is uniformity. When we say we close at 12, all the liquor outlets will close at 12 so that the police can be in a position to enforce and ensure compliance.
Thank you so much for your time. This is Lieutenant General Sello Kwena for the province of the Northwest. And of course, earlier the National Police Commissioner General Fani Masemola, when he was talking about some of the developments regarding specifically the arrest or potential or possible arrest of the people who murdered the musician, famous musician Keenan aka Forbes. He says that they have already identified people that they are pursuing. He therefore asks that as the police they be given space in that regard. There's also a question of the mass murders that we continue to see happening, particularly in the province of KwaZulu-Natal, and the National Commissioner is saying they are not necessarily going to be introducing, say, a new unit to look into those mass killings. However, because he believes that the current units that are there looking at the issues, for instance, of the taxi killings and all that, are capable of dealing with that. Of course, the question whether they are winning that particular war will only be answered as to whether we will at some point see a complete elimination of those mass killings, because in many instances it is ordinary people who are being killed. Braden.
Thank you very much, Moloko Moloto, there on the ground there with the head of the police and various police officers after the launch or the announcement and as well of Operation Chanela, which is a nationwide anti-crime police drive.